Good morning, everyone. Welcome to today's webinar. My name is Shauna Mesher. I am the Director of Sales and Marketing here at Evisys. I'm talking to you via Lou Cloud Business Software. I'm really happy to be here with you today. We are going to chat all things unlocking your team's potential. We're talking about motivating your staff, whether you have a retail team, a service team, or maybe you're the team, maybe you're the only one, but we're here to talk about it all and really excited. A couple of housekeeping things before we get started. On the bottom of your screen, there is a little button. It's a little chat button. If you have any questions through today's webinar, please go ahead and put those in the box down below. We have a moderator, Shannon. She will be popping in to announce those questions. We'll be answering them as we go. So please, this is really intended to be a conversation where we get to collaborate together. There are a lot of people on the line with some really great ideas. I am the voice of some of those ideas, but there are a lot of other great ideas out there. So please chime into the conversation. This will be a really fun one today, and really timely, being that we're in the height of pool season right now. So for those of you that are in the pool industry, thank you for taking the time out of your day to join us. I know that this is a big commitment and 30 minutes is a lot when you're really busy. So we just really appreciate it. And for those of you who are in any other industry, I'm sure you're really busy with so many other things as well. So thank you for the time to spend together. We'll make sure it's impactful and really meaningful for you. We are going to talk about 3 C's today, and those 3 C's are compensation, culture, and career. And the reason we're talking about those 3 things in particular is I really believe that everything about building a winning team stems from one of those 3 things, and ideally those 3 things combined. So again, we're talking about compensation, culture, and career growth, career paths. So if that's intriguing to any of you, stick around. We're going to talk about them in those order. I want to start with a really quick question for you all. And my question is, what would you say is the most difficult thing about motivating your team? And if you have an answer to that, please just drop it in the chat below, and Shannon will chime in and let us know what some of those answers are. But what's difficult? What is difficult about motivating your team? I'd love to know. I think we all have different challenges, and it'd be fun to chat about it here as a group. So we'll give you guys just a minute to drop those in the chat. While you guys do that, I guess I'll answer personally. I think the hardest thing for me over the years about motivating a team is it's a moving target. It feels like a moving target, at least. And I think the culture of the world changes people's expectations really regularly. And sometimes it's difficult because there's occasionally the feeling of the grass is greener, right? Whether it's your personal life or your work life, there's a lot of things out there to compare to, and people only show the highlight reels on social media and LinkedIn. There's not a lot of people talking about the hard stuff and going through the hard stuff. So I think motivating your team is a daily initiative, and it requires a lot of trust. And I think that the challenge is that it's a moving target, and people's priorities are changing all the time. Shannon, do we have any answers that you'd like to share?
No, I don't see any.
Okay, no problem. Well, if any come in throughout the call today, Shannon, just feel free to pipe in and let us know. So first, I really want to talk about kind of the backbone to this conversation, and it's what really does motivate your team. Like, let's just answer that really quickly. I think it's really important that we get individual with this. And the reality is a lot of us, especially if you are money driven or financially driven person, I think it's easy to think that everybody is that way. And what I've learned the hard way over the years is everybody's not that way. Not everybody is financially motivated. So it's really important that we understand what motivates our teams individually. A couple of examples could be recognition. Some people really love recognition. Other people are super competitive and just want to win the challenge and have their name be on the board, whether that's a fun trophy that you pass around the office for different things, or an email that's sent out from the CEO or the president or the owner. That goes a long way. A couple of other things that motivate people are short-term financial incentives and long-term. Those are different, and different people are motivated by those individually. Short-term incentive might be a spiff where they get it on their next paycheck, whereas a long-term incentive might be more of a commission structure where it's more long, it's drawn out, it takes a couple months to earn, but it's a larger chunk of money. Another idea is work-life balance. I think we don't pay enough attention to this. Sometimes work-life balance is the number one motivator for people. And that might mean that, you have a set amount of work that needs to get done in a week. And as quickly as you get it done is as quickly as you're off, right? That's really motivating to some people. So we have to identify what those individual motivators are. And truthfully, there's only a couple ways to do that. The best way to do it is to have personal communication with individuals, whether that's yourself as the owner individually, or you have leaders on your team that have trusted relationships with the people who can have those conversations and just ask the questions. The other kind of option or sidebar option would be to put out these different incentive options periodically and just observe, just really sit back and observe who rose to the occasion on that one particular instance, or who was super excited about it, who was really driving that competition forward. That will tell a lot just by watching as you put these incentive programs out. But you have to be really consciously paying attention to what's going on out there, and asking for feedback as it goes. So next thing I want to get into is just that. I want to get into incentive programs. There's a lot of buzz out there. There are a lot of different ways to do this. So by no means am I saying that this is the right way, but I have seen this work time and time again for different organizations who sell different things, who do different things. So it can work in a lot of different platforms. But you have a few options here. I think having a long-term commission structure is really important, as you all probably do already. But the caveat to this is that it's really important that the commission doesn't go out until you've recognized the revenue as a company. I see periodically people pay commission prior to the unit going out, prior to it being installed, just for the sale itself. And that works sometimes, but I've just seen it work a lot better if you wait until that unit is delivered or installed, or at least 50% done. Sometimes these installs take a really long time. So maybe it's 50% up front and then the rest of the 50% once it's installed. But the reason why I'm really passionate about that is it keeps skin in the game, right? Salespeople's jobs are to sell the thing, but it's only good for the company if it actually ends up in the customer's backyard or home, right? It's not helpful to you at all if it sits in your warehouse or the parts are ordered and they're just sitting on your inventory valuation. That's not good. So we've got to get that stuff out the door, and that's where incentivizing all parties on getting it out is really helpful. So with that in mind, I want to bring us back a couple of webinars to when we talked about motivating and setting up fundamentals for your service division. And back then we talked about having a weekly meeting for your service technicians. And in this weekly meeting, you should be talking about your service bonus pool program and giving updates along the way. So if you don't have a service bonus pool program, I'll give you a couple of ideas of how you can do this. It works wonderfully. So if you don't have it, just listen up and try it out, see if it works. You take your goals, whatever your goal or your budget is for the year, break it down by month or by quarter. Service teams tend to work a little bit better in months because it's a little bit more manageable and trackable, right? They feel like they have more ability to change the results and have impact over the results in a shorter amount of time. So it's based on profit. Make the bonus based on profit. And then the bonus for the individual should be based on contribution. So there's a couple of different ways you can do this. You can do it based on the revenue that they produce. However, that doesn't work great if you have people in like a call center type role where you have people scheduling, answering the phones, maybe coordinating different parts of the delivery and install. So what I really love for that is I love to do bonuses based on hours worked. People that show up get paid more. People that don't show up get paid less. And again, we know that things happen. People get sick, kids get sick, all of the things happen. And that's why it's really helpful to do it month over month, so that if you had something happen in a month, you have 11 more months to get the bonus, no problem. So based on contribution and based on profit's really important. And the most important part of this is that you are shining a light on it weekly. There's a weekly email that goes out. Who are we kidding? They're probably not checking their emails as regularly as we want them to. So maybe it's in that meeting and you make it visual. You have it on a board, you draw a little graph, you write people's names, put little stars, make it fun and collaborative. And that will really keep people engaged and pushing towards that target. So a service bonus pool is really important. Next thing is spiffs. Spiffs are so helpful. They're really helpful at cementing in a behavior. Spiffs motivate the behavior that you'd like to see. There's a lot of different things you can do with spiffs. You can do a hole-in-one spiff. So if a salesperson closes somebody on the very first point of contact, that spiff works really well. I know a lot of people in the industry use it. Another one is first sale of the day or last sale of the day. Keeps people, it gets them in, gets them on their feet, gets them trying really hard right away, and it keeps them trying through the whole day or through the whole weekend or week. So you can change the time frames on that. The other spiff that I love is a perfect paperwork spiff. So we all know that paperwork and sales orders and work orders are hard for people to get right every single time. We've tried really hard in our software to make it bulletproof. And I got to say it's pretty bulletproof, but there's still things that have to happen outside of the software sometimes, like financing or other things. So perfect paperwork is really cool. If you have somebody who maybe is a second check on the back end, salesperson or a service person, puts in the order, and then you have somebody who validates the order and pushes it through. That person validating the order can just write a little note on the account or send an email or whatever that looks like, saying like, this was perfect and I didn't need to do any revisions to it. That could qualify for a spiff. Back office people love it because it saves them time. We value their time. We value their effort. And it also encourages the service and sales folks to make people's jobs easier, right? Put in that little bit of extra effort, make sure that you're getting the answers to your questions before everything is in, just makes for a better customer experience the whole way through. So perfect paperwork spiff is a really fun one. Couple of other just quick tips on compensation really quick as we round this topic out. Make sure it's easy to track and easy to calculate for payroll. Nobody that does payroll wants something that's difficult to track or another spreadsheet. So make sure that it's easy to track, it's easy to keep track of. There's hundreds of reports in Liu that you can pull to find this information, whether it's an invoice register or an open order report. The other thing that I want to mention really quick, pause, is commission tracking is coming out in Liu very soon. Within the next 30 days, you will see commission tracking live with commission reporting. So if you have any questions, you want to talk to us about it, you want to understand how the rules are built in and baked into the software, scan the QR code on the screen and we would be happy to show you commission tracking and chat with you about it. It is in its final stages of development. We are so excited. The other cool thing with commission tracking in Liu is that you'll be able to track your spiffs, which you've never been able to do prior. So that's super exciting. You can have long-term commission structures. You can also have those one-off really quick spiffs that you can track and they'll all come up in your reporting. So very exciting, but it's important that you have both within your organization and that it's easy to track and easy to calculate for payroll. Make it contribution based. We've talked about that already, but really when you are creating an incentive program, ask yourself, does this help get us to the end goal of the thing in the customer's backyard or the job completed, or the technician showing up and just getting one more job done per day? Does this drive us forward? And if the answer is sort of, go back and rework the incentive program to make sure it's really contribution based and people feel like it's fair and consistent. Last tip for you, because I've made this mistake a couple of times. Spiffs are temporary. They are not permanent. They do not stay month over month over month. They are something that gets turned on and then turned off like a light switch. Okay. So spiffs are spiffs. They are something that you throw out there and you reel back in, and commissions are long-standing. That's something that's built into your comp plan, something people can really rely on. And spiffs are those really fun, just quick incentives, usually smaller dollar value. So that's it for compensation. Let's move on to culture. Culture's one of my favorite things to talk about. Culture is definitely buzzworthy these days. I think there's a lot of buzz around culture and what that really looks like. And I just want to point out something that feels obvious, but something we don't talk about often enough. Culture is being shaped in your organization every single day via every single interaction, via every single person that walks through your doors, whether it's a customer, a contractor, or an employee. It's either improving or it's getting worse. There is no stagnation in culture. So it's really important that you as a leader are showing up and you are creating the culture. You're the backbone of the culture that you want within your organization. So that means, are you getting up from your desk? Is your door open when you're available, right? Open door policy. You hear that from large organizations across the board. It works well. And that means that if your door is open and somebody walks in, you can talk, you can chat with them. Are you walking your warehouse regularly? Are you in there once or twice a week chatting with those guys and gals? Are you chatting with the people that answer the phones and asking them questions and trying to help them find solutions? If you have showrooms, retail locations that are local, how often are you there? Are you showing up a couple times a week? Are you trying to go on different days when different people are working? Or are there employees in your organization that haven't seen you in weeks and weeks and weeks? So that's really important, that you're just available, you're visible, you're real, you're human, and you're showing up in a way that is helpful, trying to help them find solutions. And that could mean a lot of different things. That could be poised as both positive or constructive, right? Maybe you're showing up and you're giving them feedback. Hey, Joe, I've really noticed this trend happening in the last couple of sales that you've had. My goal for you is that you are an all-star in this organization, and I want you to be successful just as much as you want to be successful. So let's figure out how to do that together, because this just isn't working. And I want to make sure that it doesn't hinder your being with the company long-term, if that's what you really want. And I want you to be here long-term. So if you want to be here long-term, let's figure it out together. It's having those conversations, not being nervous about the conversations and just having them. Also praising people. Hey, I noticed that you swept the whole showroom today and I really appreciate it. Thank you so much for seeing what needs to be done and getting it done. I can trust that when you're here, things get done and I don't have to worry about it. So thank you for taking that stress off of my plate. I really appreciate it. Right? Having those genuine conversations, either constructive or positive, they both need to happen, and they need to happen really regularly so they don't feel uncomfortable, and so they don't feel like when you show up, it's just to give bad news. You don't want to be that person that just shows up. Seagull management. Nobody wants seagull management. You just fly over and you fly out. They want you to be a pillar. They want you to be trustworthy and to be there for them. We all want that as humans, right? So that's really what comes down to building all-star culture, and making sure that the people who are culture cancers have an exit strategy. The longer you leave those people in the seats that they're in, the worse your culture is going to get. So you've got to identify them and you have to take action quickly. And I know sometimes that can be really scary because those people hold high revenue numbers, they're big producers often or sometimes, but you cannot be held captive by cancer cultures. It's a really big problem, and you've got to come up with a solution. And I think you'll see other people's results really flourish when you take care of those situations. And sometimes it's just a hard conversation, like, hey, we've got to talk about this. I've noticed this. What's going on? What's the deal here? Having the conversation and getting it out on the table so that we can figure out how to move forward is important. Okay, let's move on. I want to talk really quickly about training, and then we'll open it up for questions. Training is something that we talk about when people are onboarded and when they first start, and then maybe once a year after that. It's kind of what I've seen. Training is an ongoing thing, both as personal humans and as employees of organizations. Training is so important that we're always growing as people and individuals. So I think one way that I've found training woven in to your day-to-day that's really helpful is, again, going back to those meetings. Something that I've done in a prior experience with sales meetings, we had a sales meeting every Friday morning. And we would have different tasks that we'd go out and do, whether it's going online and shopping competition, or it's going to purchase something for ourselves, pretending we're purchasing something, a big ticket item, doing research about something. Everybody goes and does the task. And then on that call or that meeting, you call on a couple of people to share their experiences. It's a way of training that doesn't feel necessarily like training. It doesn't feel like this big gargantuan task. But if you go and you shop competition, let's say I'm going and shopping for a boat, because that's a big ticket item, and everybody's going to go and shop for a boat somewhere. And then they're going to report back with what their findings were. Did they like the salesperson? If not, why not? If so, what did they like? Would they purchase from that person? And then what's one thing that they did that you thought you could bring into your sales process that would really move the needle for you? It's training without really training on the product. And then, of course, you have day-to-day training where you can weave it in. We like to call it 10% time. Everybody gets 10% time where they can spend 10% of their time on developing themselves, whether that's listening to a podcast, whether that's doing a course. I know within the industries we serve, there's so many options out there for training, whether it's your chemical manufacturer, your parts manufacturer, your big ticket manufacturer. They all have so much training to offer. You just have to reach out and ask for it. So making sure that your team has dedicated time to spend on that, whether it's you coming in and you covering their shift, covering their 2 jobs in the afternoon, once a week for them to get that training done, you're going to notice it phenomenally in your retention numbers of your employees if they feel like they're growing within the organization. The last thing I want to mention on training that's so powerful is shadowing other departments. It creates deep empathy and it creates relationships within your organization. So it really feeds into the whole conversation we're having today, really about culture and creating a winning team. When you have people that care deeply about one another, they will go to lengths to take care of each other, which in the end takes care of the customer. So take care of the company, take care of the coworker, and take care of the customer are the 3 C's that align with what the other 3 C's we're talking about today. And shadowing other departments is so pivotal. I think, in my opinion, it's a non-negotiable. You should require people within your organization to do this and set time aside for them, whether they've been with the company for 20 years or 2 months. Either way, it's got to happen, and it needs to happen regularly. I'd say at least annually would be really beneficial. So that's what I have to say. We have a few minutes left for Q&A. I know I talked really fast. This is definitely a passion of mine. So if you guys have any questions, type them in the chat box below, and I'm going to pass it over to Shannon, our panelist, to see if we have any questions.
Yeah, so we have a few. How do I get leadership buy-in for investing in culture or development?
That's a really good question, and I think that can be a challenge sometimes, especially in challenging times, right? When money is tight, budgets are tight, we've got to really think critically. I think it's really important first of all, that if you're in some sort of leadership role, you know what your employee retention rate is, and you know how those people are producing. You know what their closing ratios are, you know what their drive time is, their shop time, overtime, you know all of those numbers. So it all starts with the numbers. And then I think if you can paint a picture with numbers, leadership's really open to buying into investing in culture. I also want to add, it doesn't have to be expensive. It doesn't have to be a huge thing. It could be, maybe a 1 or 2 hour afternoon potluck at a showroom once a month where you do some sort of fun activity. It could be meeting up and doing like a Sunday evening. We close the stores at 5 p.m. and all the techs are off that day. Maybe it's a 5 p.m. We go to Big Al's and we go bowling, and the company spends a few $100s to take everybody out and to meet each other's families, right? And again, just to build those personal relationships and connections with folks is really important. So it doesn't have to be expensive. I think the best way to do it for free is just to start with recognition. Have a recognition board. If you use Slack, have a recognition Slack group. If you don't and you just use email, maybe once a month or once a week, you're sending out an email recognizing folks for their contribution. There's a lot of free ways to do it, or really inexpensive if you don't want to throw a ton of money at it.
Awesome. How do you maintain a strong team culture if you have multiple store locations?
Yeah, I'm a really big fan of meeting weekly. And I know, especially if you have multiple store locations, those folks don't see each other very often. They're just seeing the results that people are producing, and that's about it. So once a week, you've got to have some sort of retail or sales meeting. It's for 30 minutes. Everyone's cameras are on. We can see each other. We can talk. And you are not the one talking the whole time. Your team is talking. So have somebody take the call over once a week. You help them with the content of that meeting, or do what I was just saying, where randomly a few people are going to speak and talk. They don't know who it is, so everybody's going to do the assignment and then come to the table with some results. But once a week meeting is for sure non-negotiable. Cameras on, everybody can see each other. And then ideally quarterly, you'd have an in-person meeting with the whole company where everybody comes together, assuming that you're not too far away from one another.
The last question, how do you create career paths within a small company where people are wearing multiple hats?
Yeah, it is a challenge for sure. There's never a lack of things that need to be done. That I know for sure. I've never worked somewhere where we ran out of things to do. So there is always opportunity for people to take more things on. A title change is not a difficult thing to do, especially if you're a small company. I'm assuming you're not going through, a large corporation to get those title changes. It can be a decision made by the owner. So a title change, a bit more responsibility, and a small bump in pay is not that difficult to do if people are showing up and wanting that growth. I think I also want to add to that, Shannon, it's really important to identify that leadership does not mean you have to manage people. It's really important that we differentiate those two things, because some people think, man, in order for me to be promoted, I've got to manage people, and I don't really want to, or I'm not really good at it. You shouldn't have to. There should be career growth paths for both individual contributors and people who want to lead others. So really think about that, in your next executive or owners or leadership meeting. Like, what does that look like? Do we have a path for individual contributors? Do we have growth for those folks? Or are we only pushing people into managing others? Because sometimes people don't want that, and they'll just feel pushed that direction, and then they'll ultimately leave because that's not their passion and not what they want to do. But they felt like that was the only way to grow within the organization. So I know that's not what the question was, but I think it's really important to note that and to think about that.
Yeah, I agree. That's great. I don't have any other questions so far.
Okay, beautiful. Well, we are at time. Thank you for those of you who contributed with questions. Again, thank you all for being here today. Please visit our webinar page on evasys.com. to come to our next webinar. We would love to have you. We're going to be talking all about driving a metrics-driven company. So if you don't know what to track, or you're feeling a little bit unsteady and unstable with what numbers really drive your business forward, please visit us for that webinar. It's going to be a panel of some of your peers. We are so excited about it. So visit our webinars page for more info there, and we'll be sending an email out with this recording tomorrow morning. See you guys all soon. Thanks so much.